baby, baby, baby. We are back for NFL Week 11. We're drying our tear-filled eyes because, frankly, Thursday night was devastating. We are the DFS Army Fantasy Football Show. We are the DFS Army show that focuses on your season-long fantasy leagues. Of course, we're here to talk about our favorite sleepers and streamers, aka our flex pays. Mr. Brandon Adam. I'm your host, Flex Shane. Brandon, we got a big show. It is officially crunch time, baby. How you doing, my man?
Awesome, brother. Awesome. I'm just getting this playoff push going, making trades, trying to fix teams that I got some issues with Andrews going down, Joe Burrow going down. I mean, this has been one hell of a year.
Man, I got Andrews in a few leagues, and they are vultures out there. Immediately last night after the game, when Mark Andrews was officially ruled out, I got so many damn trade offers for like replacement level tight ends for starting players, and I just like this is where we're at. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to make some tough decisions. Of course, we got our guy Mike Yeager in the chat, and oh yes, good sir, today it is Flex Shane on the airwaves with you. Brandon, of course, my guy is here, but Flex Matt, he's on the bench last week. Oh, yeah, there we go, Michael Walters. Strong mustache game. So, listen, before we get into it, Brandon, okay, so I'm not just growing this for my health. Well, technically, I am growing this for my health, but I am on a Movember team. It's a team with my work. And listen, I work in transportation, and our team name is called the Choo Choo Stash Crew. So, little plug here for you. If you do want to go and donate, I don't know, I'm pretty sure we'll take your cold, hard American cash. I'm based here in Canada, but if you do want to go donate, I did include the donation link in the show description. It's the last thing I'm going to say about it. No pressure, but it is for a good cause. Help us raise a little bit of money. We are like $500 away from our goal of $3,000 for our team. So go help us out. Go let us help us smash that $3,000 goal that we have. So Brandon, our goal this week, as is our goal every week, is to smash our competition. And this week, brother, there are a few teams on bye. Some of them not quite as fantasy relevant, but you got your Falcons on bye, you got the Colts on bye, the Patriots, which that's zero impact to our fantasy teams, and then the Saints are on bye. Alvin Kamara coming back from the suspension has been on a tear pretty much. But frankly, there's a lot of good matchups this week. The ones that I'm particularly targeting based off the over-unders. We're going to talk about some of the players in the games today. Chicago at Detroit, over-under 48. Arizona at Houston, over under 48, and then Dallas at Philly, baby, over under not Dallas and Philly. What am I talking about over here? We got Chicago at Detroit and Arizona at Houston are our two favorites. Brandon, we're going to talk about some of those players on the team, but overall, like, how do we feel about Thursday night game? Like, Joe Burrow just eviscerates the rest of our season. Where are we at just high level on Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon? What are your thoughts on those players?
I think Joe Mixon's going to be even more involved than usual for the rest of the way out with this with Browning being in at quarterback. I think Jamar Chase is going to end up being a target hog and could be just the first read, and Browning just keeps running and just tries to make plays from there. I think T. Higgins is going to take a massive hit with this injury. Yeah. Browning is very good to be able to sort through different options of the offense. So I really think it's going to be one read and then play make at that point, and hopefully he can move because he can run a little bit. But I'm selling T. Higgins at this point. I just sold him in Dynasty this week. But Chase, I think, is going to be fine. I think he's going to have a monster target share, so he's pretty much insulated. I don't think he's going to have that elite number one upside, but I think he's going to still be a top, 5 wide receiver option every single week.
Well, so you and Matt had our trade show last week, which was fantastic show. Got a lot of engagement from our viewers, which is what we love. And listen, again, if you actually enjoy what you're listening to or what you're watching, it helps us a ton if you go and add some comments. If you like, obviously, if you're not subscribed to the channel, help us out, do us a solid. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit that bell so that whenever we do go live, typically it's every Saturday morning around this time, talking about our favorite flex plays of the week. Help us grow this channel. Listen, we are a different channel. We are a sister channel to the main DFS Army site. Of course, man, our members over at DFS Army, Brandon, like showdown again. We had top 10 of the showdown matchups again this week. Our winners are winning, or our members are winning thousands of dollars. We've got the Discord answering all your start sit questions. We don't just do fantasy football. We do basketball. We do hockey. We do NASCAR, which Formula One in Vegas. So far, not looking so good. Not a hot start for that Formula One in Vegas, but we do it all. You are DGens like us, but you don't want to just focus on one sport. Go check it out. Get a VIP membership over at dfsarmy.com. Follow that affiliate link down in the show description. But Brandon, enough dilly-dallying, enough chit-chat. Let's go. Let's talk about some of our favorite flex plays of the week.
He's my best friend. He's my pal. He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
Listen, okay. I just got to say, Michael Yeager, this mustache does not work. I've gotten a shocking amount of, I don't know, somewhat compliments, but so far, I think the ladies like it. The ladies do like the mustache. So listen, I told my wife, Mike, that if she wants me to shave it off at the end of this month, she's going to have to go and donate. So she's going to have to follow that link, donate to our Movember fund. Brandon Adam, give me your favorite, your most tantalizing flex play this week in fantasy football.
All right, I'm going down to Houston. I think Devin Singletary is set for a big week against those Arizona Cardinals. Bottom 3 team in rush defense against the running back position and fantasy points allowed. I just think with Dameon Pierce being out, this clears the pathway and clears the workload for him in all game scripts. I don't think he'll be game script out this week. I think this ends up being one of my favorite games to target this week. I think this is a smash over game with Kyler Murray coming back, going up against Stroud. I think this is going to be a fun one. There's multiple plays in this game, and Devin Singletary should be getting a ton of work. Last week, he owned all 72% of the rush attempts for the team. Last week, he led the backfield with 75% snap rate. Last week, he was in for 53% of the routes ran by the running back position for the Houston Texans. So it's obvious this is their guy while Dameon Pierce is out. Give me him in this possible shootout. I love Devin Singletary this week.
Yeah, I mean, he is a absolute smash this week. If you have him, you have to be playing him. Yeah. Implied team total for this game is 26 points for the Houston Texans going up against Arizona. It's a 26th ranked matchup, which is a good thing, of course. And for our projection over at the matchup tool, Brandon, we have him at 15.36 PPR points. So it's going to be an absolute smash. And listen, like CJ Stroud for MVP.
There you go.
If they can somehow make a run, get into the playoffs, then maybe he will be considered for MVP. Certainly, he's going to be the rookie MVP, offensive rookie MVP. I don't see any other player right now that really even is at the same level in terms of just the overall impact to the game. Bryce Young, man, like, where are we at on Bryce Young, Brandon? Like, is he worth anything? Right? I mean, obviously, he's worth something.
Sell. I think he's been set up to fail kind of this year with what's surrounding him. He's the type of quarterback where he's Brock Purdy, but on a bad team. And that's what Brock Purdy would look like if he had no wide receiver options and no real run game to actually hand the ball off. So this is what would end up to Purdy, but Purdy is lucky enough to be in the Niners situation. Bryce Young was selected first overall in a situation where it's putrid. They're going to have to spend 2 draft classes to build around Bryce Young to truly see what Bryce Young is going to be. But at this point, I don't like him. I didn't like him pre-draft. If you listen to our dynasty rookie draft run up to everything this year, you would have known that all of us here at this channel really didn't believe Bryce Young as the number 1 quarterback. So it's just what it is. We were all for Stroud this year. Mike D and I mean, we were pretty heavy into Stroud this year. And I think most of the people that were listening to us this summer understood that Stroud was the guy to target, not Young.
Yeah. he passed a lot of the eye test, right? I mean, you watch this game in college, but really what it was is that, there's that Ohio State quarterback stink, right? Ohio State, did I say Ohio stink? Ohio State quarterback stink. That's hard to say.
Yeah.
But he's proving it. He's proving that he can place the ball. And a player like a quick twitchy guy like Tank Dell, Nico Collins is going to be back this week. He's off the injury report.
Yes.
It's going to be, it's going to be
a good
game we're going to be talking about, and they're fun to talk about. Of course, we got our guy Brandon McBroom in the chat. What's going on, Brandon? We got a question here from Camel. Should he be starting Dak Prescott or Kyler Murray this week? Dallas going up against Carolina. Obviously, Kyler is going up against the aforementioned Houston Texans. For me, listen, at this point, Dak is fire, man.
Yeah.
Between him and CD,
it's really okay. This should be a running game bonanza for the Cowboys this week against Carolina.
Yep.
So that could take some of the upside out of Dak. But the way he's playing this now, right? Fit him for Kyler. I love Kyler. I'm probably higher on Kyler than most. So if I'm saying start Dak, it's pretty safe to say 80% of anybody you talk to is going to say start Dak over Kyler. So if you are going for upside, I get it. Kyler Murray should be in a shootout here. I don't think Carolina is going to be in a shootout at all. I think it's going to be I think Dak is probably going to be done after 3 quarters here against Carolina. So I think that's a possibility, like it was last week. So, but he went crazy last week, so it doesn't matter. But that was against,
Dallas Cowboys are so funny because, the Giants are abysmal right now, but Dallas, like right now, they are like, if we're going to win this game, we're not going to keep it close. If we're a favorite, we're going to go in, we're going to be a juggernaut, we're going to score points. So that, and here's the thing, if Dak's sitting, I mean, yes, I know. I mean, everybody's talking right now that it's going to be a Tony Pollard week, that the rest of the season schedule is very favorable for Tony Pollard.
Huge.
We like that. Obviously, that's huge. And Carolina is actually surprisingly challenging against both the quarterback and the wide receivers. But man, Dak Prescott is on a tear right now. I just can't sit him. The one thing, just the argument for a Kyler is that we did see that he actually was running last week, and that's important, right?
How about that, dude? I was like, he was actually like no hesitation, dude. Like that was a huge thing for me to see. There was zero hesitation when he flipped his hips and looked upfield. He literally put his foot in the ground and went for it. And that is impressive. A first week back. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, that's what we draft Kyler Murray for. That's where all his upside is. Hollywood Brown didn't have a shockingly great season, but obviously, outlook or game last week, but outlook for the rest of the season, I think we're pretty huge. Hollywood. He was one of the guys you talked about on the Trade 4 show last week.
And I said last week it was going to be a Trey McBride week. I didn't say it was going to be a Marquise Brown week last week. Trey McBride should have another good week this week. The Houston Texans are abysmal against the tight end position. But the good thing is Marquise Brown should have a bounce back. He leads the league in fantasy points from the slot at 5.8 per game. So that is where you attack this Houston Texans defense, is from the slot. So go for it. I like Marquise Brown. Start Marquise Brown this week.
Okay, Brandon McBroom is talking about how he has just Deontay Johnson in his flex. I'm not sure if that's a question or a statement, Brandon. Obviously, it's probably more of a statement because we don't have any choices there. I've got Deontay in a bunch of leagues because I was super high on him, both in Dynasty and in my redraft leagues. And half my leagues I'm starting him, half of them I'm sitting him. They're going up against Cleveland this week. Cleveland, obviously, it's going to be without Deshaun Watson for the balance of the year. I can't. I just can't do it. I'm
not doing it.
It's risky as all hell, man.
I'm not doing
it. We've seen that Kenny Pickett can just say, you know what, F you, Deontay. Like, I'm just not going to throw to you. Who are your choices, Brendan?
And also Pat Fryermuth is back off IR. That's another pass weapon that's being activated for this week. Yeah. So that's even more of a spread with Kenny Pickett. So I'm sitting anybody playing against Cleveland Browns, dude. That defense is just different. Like, it's just different, especially when you got a below average quarterback like Kenny Pickett. And
Oh.
like it's just I'm not starting any Steelers this week except for Jalen Warren. That's it.
Kenny Pickett isn't even a below average quarterback. He's like a bottom 5 quarterback in terms of a lot of the
I was
advanced
being
metrics.
nice. I was being nice. Jesus.
I mean, technically, you're not wrong when you say he's below average. When he's like
Yeah.
bottom 3, yeah, that's pretty much on brand. Listen, okay, I'm gonna do my flex, but Mike Yeager, by the way, keep him coming, baby, keep him coming. The more we talk about the stash, the better. Young is worth Shane's mustache. He's not good and won't be good. I can see more of that O line than he can, and I'm 5'5" on a good day.
Jeez.
Good lord. Okay, listen, we love you, Mike Yeager, but the stash is awesome. I'm gonna stick with that. The stash is awesome. Okay, listen, I'm gonna talk about my first flex play here, and I think this player is definitively a flex play. So got Cortland Sutton going up against Minnesota. Overall, that game is a 44.2 over under. Cortland Sutton right now is being started in about 40% of leagues over at Sleeper. It's a Sunday night game, so I love those Sunday and Monday night hammers. And listen, on the season, he's got 92% route run. He's a 19% targets per route run. But this is what's key, Brandon. This is what's so key here is that he has 47% other end zone targets in over there in Denver. So he's got 7 touchdowns on the season, which is a 17% touchdown rate, which frankly isn't sustainable when you look at a large sample size. But crazy things happen, and you just look at that touchdown every single week for the last 5 or 6 weeks. He's going to continue to be Russell Wilson's number 1 target. And listen, the Denver Broncos at this point actually look like a respectable team. That looks like they are every single week. We were just looking at before the show. A lot of the metrics are their bottom 3 in positions against, right? So fantasy points allowed to wide receivers, fantasy points allowed to running backs, but they are starting to improve. The other thing, too, that I want to just add is that Russ, when he's been targeting Cortland Sutton, has a QB rating of 126, which ranks number 9 in the league. So that's pretty solid. I like that. That's per player profiler. And then another fun little stat per PFF is the Vikings, who they're playing this week, play zone coverage at a top 10 rate, okay? Sutton has scored 71% of his fantasy points against zone, okay? So this is the perfect situation. Cortland Sutton, he's definitely one of your flex considerations where you drafted him, where he's been producing this week. The fact that he's touchdown dependent, but spoiler alert, Brandon McBroom, I am actually starting Cortland Sutton over a Deontay Johnson this week, and I'm comfortable with that. I have no regrets.
So love that, dude. Love that. Love it. It's awesome. It's amazing what happens when a competent coach gets involved with a team and you start seeing the Broncos beating, back-to-back weeks, beating Kansas City and then beating the Bills. I mean, what a calling card for Sean Payton and this team. I don't think Wilson's going anywhere this offseason. I think they're building around this guy like they were planning on doing. I think Russell is starting to get back into his rhythm of offense. And guess why? Guess what? Why? Javonte Williams, my guy. Javonte Williams is back. Javonte Williams is looking like a league winner. I really hope people listened last week when we talked about him being one of our targets as a trade cast target. That guy is going to be a star in 2024 and beyond in this offense with Sean Payton. And it starts from 2 weeks ago. You could see it in the usage metrics. With Javonte Williams, McLaughlin is gone. Javonte Williams is a smash the rest of the way. I absolutely love the Denver Broncos this week against the Vikings, especially Cortland Sutton. I don't give it. Judy is nice, but it's obvious that Russ has a chemistry with Sutton when he's in trouble. On third down and in the red zone, it's Sutton time.
Sutton time, baby. Sutton time. All right, we got a few more questions here in the chat, Brandon. We got a guy, Flex Matt, coming in here. Pittsburgh defense or Detroit defense? So Pittsburgh is going up against Cleveland, and Detroit is going up against Chicago. Cleveland starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson this week, the rookie. A little bit more prepared, right? He's got the week to prepare. Or...
I'm going Steelers.
Justin Fields. I'm going Steelers here. Yeah, Justin Fields. Sounds like, well, he is going to play this week. He is prone to sacks. He is prone to making turnovers. But at this stage, man, Pittsburgh is winning games because of their defense. And I just have a little bit more faith in that defense.
They do have one chink in the armor, the Steelers defense, and it's the rush defense. Running backs have been quite successful against the Pittsburgh. I was going to talk about that later, but just a little teaser. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, and okay, so Brandon McBroom has Dubs or Deontay Johnson. Yeah, I'm probably still starting Deontay Johnson there.
It's Deontay Johnson. Jeez.
Now,
yeah.
Oh man, listen, Deontay's still good. All he needs is bloody targets. But going up against Cleveland, that just it frightens me. I'm a frightened little boy when I'm looking at that matchup. Okay, Brandon, give me your second flex play of the week. Brandon.
So I'm staying in the same game, same offense, same game, same offense. I love Tank Dell this week. Tank Dell is gonna absolutely smash this week. He's been coming on lately as well. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, brother.
Okay. I was seeing. Sorry. So he's going to go up against Marco Wilson. He is an absolute sieve. He gives up 12.5 fantasy points per game allowed by Marco Wilson. He can't guard anybody. So Nico Collins is coming back on the other side, but with this information, the weakest DB in the Arizona Cardinals defense is Marco Wilson. So target against him. Tank Dell is going to be getting the majority of the snaps against him, and let's take advantage of that matchup and start Tank Dell this week. I think, like I said, this is going to be a Stroud shootout with Kyler Murray this week. I think the over on all points, and I think it's because Stroud is just clicking. And this offense, with Noah Brown being down too, with Nico coming in, Noah Brown's coming out. So no role is going to change for Tank Dell here. It's only going to be the same role, and he's getting volume with in there. And Arizona can't guard the slot, so take advantage of it.
Take advantage of it. And listen, over at dfsarmy.com, I'm sure you've heard of the website, Brandon. We have something called the Chalkboard. And this is a look at both DraftKings and FanDuel in terms of which players are projected to be the chalkiest, aka the most played. And over at DraftKings, at 18.1%, 17% ownership projection is Mr. Tank Adel. Now, granted, that's also related to his salary, but frig, man,
yes.
Yeah, no,
it's because of matchup. The matchup is there. Marco Wilson is terrible. We've been targeting this guy all year long. No matter who is the team going against them, I've been targeting Marco Wilson, and it's been a profitable idea. So let's just do it. Let's go Tank Dell. Even though Nico Collins is back, I get that. That's usually the number one, but the Cardinals aren't that bad against the outside wide receiver. It's the slot, and I think Tank Dell is going to take full advantage of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm looking at it here. So in terms of fantasy points allowed, actually 76% is allowed going out to the wideouts, whereas 24% is against the slot. But again, it also depends on that chemistry, right? So I could see it's going to be a good game for Tank Dell. And sometimes you got to just follow the talent, right? Clearly, Stroud has a built-in chemistry with Tank Dell, all 165 pounds of him, and you got to just smoke him if you got him, baby, because that's what
Noah Brown is out. That's a huge deal here. Yeah. Noah Brown isn't going to be siphoning any targets off of them. This is where people won't realize that, for Tank Dell. That's why I like Tank Dell a lot this week. Nico Collins is okay this week. I think Tank Cal has more points than Nico this week.
More so because of PPR points? Like, just the fact is... Okay.
Yeah.
Who's more likely?
I think he's going to get volume. Yeah. What's that?
Who's more likely to get a touchdown?
Well, I mean, let's be real here. It's Nico.
Probably Nico? Okay,
yeah.
So probably Nico.
If you're betting a touchdown, Nico. If you're betting overall fantasy points, I think it's going to be Tank Dell this week. Okay. But like I said, I think it's over on this whole game. with everybody.
Yeah,
pretty much.
exactly. I'm starting both these guys. If I had by chance Nico and Tank on my team, both players on my team, I'm starting on both of them.
Could you imagine? That would be pretty insane. Having
Well,
a Stroud, Nico, if you were that smart to do that, like fading quarterback, fading your number one wide receiver, and having Nico Collins, like that would be one hell of a game-winning strategy.
let it be said, Brandon, we focus so much time on the draft, but it's always a fun exercise when you go look at your team that you drafted compared it to the team at the end of the season, and typically 25%, 30% of your players are going to be the same, because most people didn't, unless it was a 2-quarterback league, most people didn't draft CJ Stroud. You probably drafted Nico Collins. Most people didn't draft Tank Dell unless he was like a last round flyer, right? But for the most part, especially in best ball leagues, Tank Dell was going in rounds 15, 16, 17, right? Like he was barely getting drafted. So, man,
he's been a league winner for this whole time. And for next year, I'm going to be, because of the quarterback class coming in, I think I'm going to be fading quarterback, and some of these older names at quarterback I'm not going to be dealing with. I'm going to be drafting a lot of rookie quarterbacks in my redraft and going for it with CW or Drake May next year, and trying to get that value, hit that value with the rookie quarterbacks, because one of them's going to pop. One of them is. It has to.
Or both of them probably going to pop. Yeah, it's kind of this renaissance for quarterback. But I mean, if you do look at the top end quarterbacks that were drafted this year, obviously Mahomes has been a bit of a disappointment, which in any given week he could be the QB1 still. So that's why you draft him as a QB1. But Jalen Hurts, he's been performing. Josh Allen, he's been performing. One of the fringe guys, I mean, when Justin Fields was playing, he was playing okay. Lamar Jackson's playing okay. Joe Burrow, obviously, rest in peace for the rest of his season. But if you fade a quarterback, you're probably doing okay this year. Let's move on to one of my flex plays. You've already judged me about it, but I feel like this player needs to be discussed. He is being started in 66% of leagues, so we're right on that fringe of, is this guy acceptable for a flex play? But listen, it's my show today, so I'm going to talk about this player because I just feel like we need to acknowledge the fact that Brian Robinson going up against the New York Giants, Antonio Gibson has been ruled out.
Down.
It is the perfect situation for Brian Robinson. And listen, I don't know, man. Like, we had a ton of discussion in the offseason about Antonio Gibson versus Brian Robinson, and we had him back-to-back in our rankings, but I definitively had Antonio Gibson ranked ahead Brian Robinson. It just hasn't worked out. It just has not worked out. And sometimes we try to outthink ourselves, right? He was coming on, but we try to outthink ourselves. Like, it just, Ron Rivera, for whatever reason, just didn't like Antonio Gibson. He didn't trust him in the offense. Maybe it was the turnovers. I don't know, but there's something, right? Something that didn't jive. Whereas Brian Robinson was the opposite. This was the guy who was like, it's like his nephew or something like that, right? It's like, you know what, brother, just come on the field. Just come on to the field. And he's been performing this week. Okay.
Oh, he had a career year. He had a career game against my Seahawks. He was unstoppable, dude. And even Gibson smashed last week. I mean, even he did good. Like, it was bad.
Okay, so last week, just to talk about how well he did, it was the big thing is that Brian Robinson generally is not known for his pass catching prowess, right? But he went 6 for 6 for 119 yards and a touchdown last week up against Seattle, like you mentioned. On the season, he has a 60% rush share, which is going to continue. It's going to be Chris Rodriguez backing him up this week. So 60 is probably going to go up to 70, 75%. So we love the usage there. In terms of fantasy points per opportunity, okay, so that's per touch essentially, 0.98 fantasy points. That ranks number 8. He's number 4 in efficiency in yards created after the first evaded tackle. That's a stat per playerprofiler.com. Wow. And here's the thing. Even though he's not explosive, he's explosive. He's number 10 in breakaway runs with 6. So he's showing that he can catch the ball. He's showing that he's got the trust of the coaching staff. And when he has the ball, he's been very efficient when he's touching it. Brian Robinson, for most of the season, has been touchdown dependent. This week, going up against the New York Giants, I think he's an absolute must start. The main reason I want to talk to him about him this show is because chances are he is one of your flex players in terms of where you've been drafted, but you got to start Brian Robinson this week if you got him. Smoke him if you got him, in the words of Flex Matt.
Oh, dude, I like that a lot. With Gibson going down, that's a smash play. I think with Gibson going down, though, I think a sneaky play. I'm looking for his DB right now. Is actually I think Curtis Samuel is somebody that Curtis Samuel's going to be lining up against Nick McLeod of the New York Giants, 76th overall cornerback by Player Profiler. I just think. If you think about what they were doing early in the season when Antonio Gibson wasn't doing anything, it was because they were running Curtis Samuel on sweeps and and he was lining up out of the slot majority of the time and he was getting heavy weighted targets in the red zone and third down plays, right? So with Gibson going down, I think if you are in a bind and you need somebody, Curtis Samuel could be a guy that could bail you out. I think he could be in the end zone this week. I think it's just Ron Rivera. I can't wait for this guy to be fired. I can't, because Washington's going to miss the playoffs. I can't wait for him to be fired, and they're going to move on from him because this team's too talented for his shenanigans, man. Shenanigans. Like it for what this team had. Like he has little shenanigans where he thinks he's Bill Belichick and he's going to bench good players just because he wants to be AKA a dick. Like it's just like it's not professional. It happened with John Dotson. It happened with Gibson. These are highly talented, highly drafted players that he literally is just melt away and not use, and they have their outbursts, but it's just sickening to me that that's happened to those two players. A little bit of a fun projection into the future. Antonio Gibson, free agent this year, will not be signed again by Washington. Whoever picks up that man, and if he gets a good role, I like him in Dynasty as a cheap buy window now.
I could see a team like Philadelphia going after him, right? Like
I could see many teams going after him. Yeah, I could see many. You know what's even crazier? So I was listening to Pat Kerwin, and they were talking to Pete Carroll before the game last week, and they weren't talking about Pete Carroll did not talk about Brian Robinson, dude. He was talking about Antonio Gibson, on how talented Antonio Gibson was, and that they had a huge problem with them the year prior because Antonio Gibson had like a career day against Seattle 2 years ago. So that's how much respect Antonio Gibson gets from a guy like Pete Carroll. And it's mind-boggling that he doesn't get a real shot. It's just crazy. But Brian Robson's really good. They have a good scheme there in Washington for the run game. Smash play. Like it.
Smash play. We got a comment here from Cat for Life. What's going on, Cat for Life? So he or she is asking your thoughts on Sam Howell. Just traded for him. Man, Sam Howell's been on fire.
Fire.
All season, right? He's QB4 on the season. So that is a smash. But even just the last couple of weeks, I mean, like, Brandon, my God. In terms of his, like, I'm just looking at his pass attempts. This is going backwards. Okay, 44, 45, 52, 42. He only had 23 against Atlanta, but the week before that, 51 against Chicago, 41 against Philadelphia, 29 versus Buffalo, 39 versus Denver, 31 versus Arizona. Okay, he's had literally one game where he's had less than 30. Cap, what's going on, brother?
And guess what? In our bold calls pod, I said that Sam Howell is going to outscore Anthony Richardson this year. And I think even with Anthony Richardson being a healthy Anthony Richardson, that Sam Howell would still be outscoring Anthony Richardson this year. I've been a big believer in Sam Howell. I think he has shades of Russell Wilson to me with the way he plays the game. He is a mobile quarterback, strong arm quarterback, short, stocky, mobile quarterback that can run the football and throw it deep, has strong arm strength deep. I'm kind of curious to see what Washington's going to do this offseason with in terms of their QB position. With them trading away all their pass rushers, they stacked some picks up. They got 2 and a 3. I'm curious to see if they're going to try and get a quarterback in there or not. With Ron
It would be
Rivera,
foolish.
I think Ron Rivera, if he stays, Howell stays. If Ron Rivera gets fired, there might be a chance Sam Howell doesn't get the shot, and they draft a quarterback.
I think Sam Howell has played well enough to garner a position as a starting quarterback.
Yes.
Just the fact that they're asking him to throw so much, like they're putting the game in his hands.
Dude.
And so far he's doing pretty well, right? Like the reason they're losing is not because of Sam Howell.
No, right? They're losing because of their defense. What Ron Rivera was supposed to be, a defensive guy, right? And then they trade away Chase Young for peanuts, and they trade away Montez Sweat for peanuts. It's just to me, it's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I think the organization, they literally had a meeting before this trade deadline and said, we are tanking the rest of the way. We're going to rebuild, and we're going to move on with the new face. And I think Ron Rivera is going to be fired in the offseason.
I didn't think this would be a Sam Howell show, but I'm just looking at his outlook here. So obviously he's going up against the Giants this week. Then he's going up against Dallas on week 12. That one's a little bit tough. Then Miami in week 13. I love that matchup. Week 14, he's got his bye, which is a little challenging, right? That's kind of the last week before the fantasy football playoffs. But then he's against the Rams, like that matchup. A Jets, tough. San Francisco, tough. So his last two games in the fantasy football playoffs are a little bit rough. But it could be a situation where volume trumps all, right? If he's going to continue to throw the ball.
To me, that tells me with those matchups, I'm almost like sell high in redraft and see what you can get for Sam Howell, and maybe you could target a quarterback with a good schedule, and maybe you can get keys, that you need if you have two quarterbacks for some reason. I don't know. Sam Howell was a QB2 for most of the teams I got him for. So I can sell one of my quarterbacks. So Sam Howell is somebody I don't think this is going to continue in the fantasy playoffs, but as for right now, it's impressive. And I think he's earned himself the job for next year. I'm hoping, because I think that would be unfair if this almost leading NFL in passing yards and passing attempts and then doesn't get the job back.
Cap for life. Listen, you asked some good questions, so appreciate it. With that being said, who do I pick up as my QB2, Derek Carr or Taylor Heineke? Frankly, honestly, Cap, I'm of the belief that you don't pick up a backup quarterback until week 13, the week before, because you're going to be starting Sam Howell every single week. And chances are Derek Carr, Taylor Heineke, one of these guys is going to be available on your waiver wire. It sounds like it's a 1 QB league. Now, if it's a QB, if there's to start 2 quarterbacks, which doesn't sound like it is, you definitely want to have 3 quarterbacks on your roster, but I just don't see a need for multiple quarterbacks when you've got one guy you're going to be starting every single week. It's not going to be a matchup decision. So use that position for a running back. Like I had Ty Chandler in a bunch of my teams, Tajay Spears, he might be out there and available. Like those are the types of players that I would rather have on my bench at this stage because they're lightning in a bottle. We know what Derek Carr is. We know what Taylor Heineke is. There's no real upside for those players. And chances are, come week 14 on his bye week, you're going to have to go and find a streamer anyways. I would rather use my bench spots for upside players, guys that can make a difference on your team. If, say, we call it contingent upside, right? If the starting player gets hurt, those are the types of players that I'm going to be targeting, and I'm not going to be rostering a second quarterback in most of my leagues. Brandon, give me your third flex play of the week.
My third flex play of the week has been a name that's been on our show a few times, and we've been able to call some pretty decent games with this player. I just love the matchup so much that I have to say his name, and his name is Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to be lined up against the Civ, James Bradbury. This guy gives up big plays every single week, and the Philadelphia secondary is just really bad, guys. Just really bad. James Bradbury gives up 14.2 fantasy points allowed per game. That leads the secondary. And with James Bradbury, it seems like he gets to be in man coverage a little bit, and I like Rashee Rice yards after catch. He's going to get some short bubble screens this week, and he's going to be able to get a lot of yards out of it. But what I like about it is that this is going to be a shootout game, guys. It has to be, right? Philadelphia, Kansas City. Kansas City coming off that putrid loss against Denver. They went to their bye week pissed off, right? They went and looked. They're retooling. They're trying to figure out who are we going to feature besides Travis Kelce? Who the hell are we going to feature? You know, that, and it's not, and it sure as hell isn't going to be Isaiah Pacheco this week going against the Philadelphia run defense. Okay. They're the number one defense against the run. You do not put, if you can sit Isaiah Pacheco, you sit Isaiah Pacheco this week. It's that simple. Where you attack this Philadelphia defense is through the air and through the secondary and deep, and give me Rashee Rice, that the only wide receiver that actually stands over 6 foot in that offense. Give me him. And Patrick Mahomes, in the last few weeks, you can tell he's looking for him more and more and more. Even though if the ball doesn't end up going there, he is looking for him. And if he's actually trying to get Rashee Rice the ball. I like Rashee Rice to break out here against the Philadelphia Eagles. How about what do you say, Flex? Shane?
You know, I would be lying if I said I love Rashee Rice as a week in, week out starter, but as a flex consideration this week, especially because Philadelphia, man, where you score points, they are the stone hardest team going up against the running back, but going up against a wide receiver, it's not so bad. It is a 28th ranked matchup.
It's awesome.
Then you look at, well, exactly. And then you look at Rashee Rice's targets per route run. He's at 24%. So when he's running routes, which is on the season only 44% of the time, but that's going up. That is going up as the season is progressing. He's continuing to get his targets. I don't hate it, man. I do not hate it.
Another target of mine in Dynasty. I know I keep talking about Dynasty. I'm a Dynasty nerd. I'm sorry. Dynasty, Rashee Rice is a buy for me for next season. If you're rebuilding, Rashee Rice is a nice buy for next year.
Weren't you looking at a trade offer? It was basically 2 first-round picks, 2 late first-round picks of 24 and 25 for Jordan Addison and Rashee Rice. I said I would prefer the picks, but
I'll take the players.
You take the players. See, I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased, but I'm still not sold on Rashee Rice as a wide receiver 1. If I'm trading away a first-round pick in my dynasty leagues, I want a de facto guaranteed starter that's going to make a difference on my team. Jordan Addison is that. I'm not convinced Rashee Rice is. If you could do 1-1 for Jordan Addison, sure, that's fine. But
late.
Anybody would do that.
They were late. They were late. If they're anything higher than an 8, number 8, then I'm with you. But let's just see where the end of the season go. This last bit. Remember how many rookie wide receivers just crush at the end of the season because it finally clicks and the team finally feeds them. I think that's what's going to end up happening here in Kansas City because Travis Kelce can't do it all, guys. It's just I think Kansas City's figuring out that they can't do it through just Travis Kelce. When you lose against Denver, that should ring some bells to you. Hey man, like. You need to figure out a playmaker outside of Travis Kelce in the pass game. And I think that I saw a crazy stat when they were playing against Miami on the broadcast. They said ever since Tyreek Hill was traded, they haven't had a touchdown over 20 yards deep since Tyreek Hill has been traded, the Kansas City Chiefs. So that tells you everything you need to know about what's going on with that offense. That offense is literally checked. It's literally check. It's from line of scrimmage and out. It's not deep. Back in the day with Tyreek, it was deep to low every time for Patrick Mahomes. It's operating in a much different fashion this year, and that's why with Rashee Rice and his yak ability. That's why I like him a lot because he's going to be able to take those easy catches and get some yards after the catch.
Yeah, and I mean Rashee had he's got a pretty decent resume when you look at his college production, and so it is starting to translate to the NFL. I don't hate it. I don't know. I'm not quite sold there, and it's one of those situations where you have to buy early. Like you have to take that leap of faith with a player like Rashee Rice. I like the fact that he is starting to, as we progress throughout the season, continue to actually go and show that production. But I don't know. I wouldn't trade a first for him yet. I'm not quite there yet. I understand why you would do it. I'm not there yet. Let's what are your thoughts on Tyler Lockett? He hasn't practiced. Did he practice yesterday? I'm trying to find. I know he didn't practice Thursday, but I'm trying to find a report to see if he practiced on Friday or not. Did you see that, Brendan? Oh, Brendan. Okay, Brendan, we're losing you a little bit there, brother. Oh, go ahead.
I didn't hear anything you just said the last 30 seconds.
Okay, Tyler Lockett. Did he practice on Friday?
He had a limited practice, but I don't think he plays. And if he does not play, this is only if he doesn't play, guys. I like JSN this week. I think JSN will have a volume spike if Lockett is not in the offense this week. If Lockett is playing, okay, the volume won't be there. JSN's a longer shot. But the good thing is that when you are targeting any kind of wide receiver to play against this Rams defense, you want to go through the slot. And JSN has been 75% of the time in the slot and dominates the slot position for the Seattle Seahawks. So if there is going to be a touchdown this week, I think it's going to be JSN this week, and that's a tough call, but that's one that I kind of like, and I've been feeling it all week that he is coming on. JSN is coming on more and more, and Pete is starting to allow the kid to breathe a little bit and let him go be a playmaker. I think if Tyler Lockett sits, JSN is a good play this week to get at, somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 targets.
Another dynasty question for you, Brandon. Relative to the other wide receivers in this class, so let's talk about the first round wide receivers: JSN, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, and Quentin Johnson. We'll include him. How would you rank those wide receivers in dynasty moving forward, starting next year? Because into the season, I had them ranked JSN, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, then way further down, Quentin Johnston. Where would you have them right now? Is JSN your first, your second?
Yeah. JSN is my first still, because I still think he has the archetype to be a wide receiver one. I think I just feel in the future, you don't take that guy that high unless you're planning on him being a wide receiver one for you in the future. I like JSN a lot. I just think he could do more. Addison's awesome. I liked Addison prior. I'm a USC fan. I just before the draft, I thought JSN fit the mold of a wide receiver one. But hey, man, Addison, when JJ has been out, he's been pretty damn good with Kirk Cousins when JJ was out. So I don't know. I pretty dang close. Addison's right there. That's why I said I would take that deal for him for a first rounder for him. I think that's an easy slam for me for Addison. I think Dobbs stays in Minnesota. I think Dobbs ends up being their quarterback for next year as a bridge quarterback. I think that happens, and I think Kirk Cousins ends up leaving and is not a part of the Vikings next year.
Love it. Okay, Cap's just coming with the questions, the hot questions.
Sure.
We're gonna get your questions real quick, Cap. Then we'll talk about my last flex play. Then we'll get the hell out of here, brother. Okay.
Sure.
So first and foremost, we got a trade question. Does he package? I'm assuming this is season long. Cap for life. Does he package Puka Nacua and Darrell Henderson to get DeAndre Swift? He's got ETN and Singletary. I don't know if I'd do that. I mean, Swift's been pretty good, but
Puka still got a 29% target share, dude.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of come back down to earth the last few weeks in terms of his production. I mean, last 2 weeks last week he had to bye, but going into the bye, he had 7 targets. Week before that against Pittsburgh, he had 12. So he's getting the target share. It's still Cooper Kupp's game. I don't know.
It all depends on your wide receivers. Who are your wide receivers?
Yeah, it's not the worst trade. I mean, Darrell Henderson, he's just a dude in my opinion.
Honestly, so a deep play is Darrell Henderson this week against Seattle. We just told you how bad Seattle was against the running back position with Brian Robinson. Darrell Henderson has had plenty of history with Seattle. Knows exactly what to expect. I kind of like Darrell Henderson as a deep play if you're doing like a DFS type thing, like a millie maker. I think Henderson would be a fun play.
Fair enough. Okay, last question from Cap here. So I'm assuming this is for this week, but would you rather play JSN or Puka Nacua? I think JSN.
Puka.
Honestly, Puka and both. Even if Lockett sits, I'm playing Puka over JSN right now.
Yeah.
You can't deny that volume right now.
Yep.
Okay, so speaking of, listen, smoke him if you got him. Apparently, shockingly, he's only got a 26% projected start rate as of right now over on Sleeper.
It's crazy.
But Devon Achane, he's coming off of the injured reserve this week. He's going to be activated probably later today. He is an absolute lightning in a bottle. He's a cannon. And unless you have a very compelling player to start ahead of him, we had a conversation before the show went live. I have a decision between Rashad White and Devon Achane. I'm going with Achane in that case. But I think you've got to start Devon Achane if you got him right now, right? Like, what do you think?
In most cases, because of how bad injuries are, yeah. I mean, this guy was doing unreal stuff. In weeks 3 and 4, he had in week three against Denver, he had 6 red zone carries. Just absolutely smashed Denver and Buffalo, and then what he did to the Giants. It's just when he plays, he's you can't not play him. He might be the most dangerous player in the NFL right now. And that is crazy to say, dude. He's literally Chris Johnson, CJ2K. That's who he kind of reminds me of when he gets into that open field, but I think he's better in closed areas than CJ2K. He has a little bit better vision there. But dude, McDaniels is playing games all week about this. I'm telling you, if you got superstars and they get activated off IR, you play your stars. Okay? We said this again with Cooper Kupp when he got activated, smashed the first week he came back. Let's just play the studs, don't outthink yourself.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Okay, we got a question. Well, more so a statement from Vinny. He's really stacked. He's 9-1. Congratulations. It's fantastic.
Nice.
He lost Mark Andrews last night. You and me both, brother. His backups are Trey McBride and Taysom Hill. How is he looking? That's great. Perfect. In fact, actually, I like to always have like a sleeper tight end out there. I don't even know if Trey McBride's a sleeper tight end at this point, but
not anymore.
I'm definitely playing him this week. I love his matchup this week. So yeah, man.
Trey McBride, I would be shocked if he's not top 3 this week. I'd be shocked if he's not top 3 tight end.
Yeah, so I like that. And Taysom Hill, listen, he can be unreliable, but he can also put up 25 to 30 points in a week if he just gets those goal line opportunities. And
exactly. And that's a pretty good situation you got if you had Andrews, dude. You did good. You did great. You absorbed that injury. You're going to be able to keep rolling without any misfire. That's awesome.
So, yeah, Cap for Life, of course, has the Miami Dolphins freaking symbol. So, yeah, he's a little bit biased, but he's saying Achane's number 1 this week. I think that's not wrong. That's not wrong.
Dude, going against Vegas? Come on. He's just going to smash, dude. It's going to be amazing. I'm so pumped. I've been waiting for this so bad in a couple leagues. I'm so excited, especially for Banana Hammock League. Oh, boy. If Achane stays healthy, oh, boy, guys.
Yeah, Vinny, we appreciate you too. Thanks for jumping on, brother. Thanks for the question. Okay, so just a few honorable mentions. This one's one that you mentioned, but I think I'm going to just throw it out there just
do it
in a matter of time here. So Jerome Ford going up against Pittsburgh. He's got a 54% start. I mean, Jerome Ford, I would classify him right around that low-end RB2. So if you've got a couple RB2s, then yeah, it's obviously a decision you have to make. I'm sitting him in one league. I'm starting him in a few other leagues. So Jerome Ford, I like that. 85% star rate, but at this point you're starting Aaron Jones. He is apparently the only thing that's actually doing anything in that Green Bay offense right now. Our guy Mike Yeager was asking about how we feel about Christian Watson. I'm petrified, man.
It's done. Now, it's over, dude. It's done for this year. I don't see it happening. I really don't. I don't see any kind of spark or nothing until I see one catch from Christian Watson of over 30 yards. His chemistry is not there. It's just not what he, that's what he does. And that's why Aaron Rodgers was special, dude. People got to understand that's how Aaron Rodgers made Watson last year. Straight up. Why do you think that's why I had Garrett Wilson ranked as wide receiver 4 to 5 in redraft this year if Aaron would have been freaking healthy. It's just what it is. Like, so unfortunate, man. But another smash of the week, a huge smash this week, Brandon Ayuk is going to absolutely take the Tampa Bay Bucks to the cleaners. Carlton Davis can't stop anything done last week. Didn't play last week.
Yeah, it's been rough. It's been rough for sure for Carlton Davis. So I love Brandon Ayuk this week. I think that's a smash start. And if you got Ty Chandler, and if it's not looking like Alexander Madison is going to play. I mean, he has a concussion. Typically, we've seen most players miss that next week. Brock Purdy was an exception to that rule, but for the most part, they sit the next week. Madison did have some limited practices this week, but I'm still not sold until they say he's activated. So I like Ty Chandler in that event. Hopefully you had him. Ty Chandler's been a player where I'll pick him up, I'll drop him the next week. I'll pick him up, I'll drop him the next week. So if you have him, hopefully you kept him and you can start him this week. So that's it, brother. Anything else before we close out the show here? Another good one.
No, that's it. I apologize for some of the technical stuff, guys. Besides that, no, man. Good luck. Let's make this push to league championships. This is what it's all about. These next couple weeks are huge. It's not over till it's over, guys. Like every single start. I mean, I had last week, Mike Dickinson, our boy, absolutely destroyed me across the board, and I was projected winning those leagues by a lot in each of those weeks, and he just smashed me. So it doesn't matter what the projections say. Football is football. That's why we love it. It's crazy. It's unpredictable. Have fun with it, but keep pushing. It's not over. Get into the tournament and win yourself some leagues, guys. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. We have 4 more weeks of the regular season until it is the fantasy football playoffs. Man, it's felt like the offseason was forever, and then this regular season comes and you blink
so fast
and it's over. So just make sure you go and enjoy it. For all of my American friends and colleagues, Brandon, Adam, happy Thanksgiving. I know this is a huge thing for you folks down in the US. Enjoy some football. There's going to be the Black Friday game as well. So it's going to be some football all weekend. Please be safe out there. Do not drink and drive. Do not do other substances and drive. If you need to, take cabs, use Ubers, use Lyfts, take your bike, walk, do anything, but do not drink and drive or do anything under the influence. Enjoy the holidays, enjoy them safely, but go out and crush some souls this weekend in Week 11 NFL. Check out DFSArmy.com. We're printing money over there, ladies and gentlemen. It's worth the price of admission. For Brandon, I'm Flex Shane, and we are the DFS Army Fantasy Football Show. Let's go, baby. Big time. No,